controversial take on Germany and whether an Australian business should expand there. I'm now here live with Taylor, where she's going to discuss the concept of globalisation in relation to Germany. Taylor, as an Andy researcher, overall, do you believe Germany is a winner or loser as a result of globalisation?
Globalisation describes the way countries and people interact. Globalisation is the process of becoming interconnected as a result of increased trade and cultural exchanges. Globalisation is currently shaping the world in which we live, and Germany has overall been a winner as a result of globalisation. Globalisation represents an aggravated division of labour and an integration of domestic markets across countries. The value of exports in Germany has increased as a result of this on an average of 8% annually. Germany is particularly benefiting from this process of globalisation, with their exports now accounting for 45% of economic output and their exports continuing to rapidly increase. Not only has globalisation been beneficial to Germany's economic output, but also their competition. Globalisation increases global competition between companies and locations, with companies operating and competing with each other in world markets and closing the gap between them. Germany, as a result, has the strongest ties with other national economies than other countries such as the US in third place and Hong Kong in second. As of 2005, companies from all over the globe have invested almost $605 billion in Germany. During this investment, German companies had the ability to use political developments such as the EU Eastern expansion and technological developments to open locations across the world and therefore enhance their international competitiveness. Therefore, with globalisation, Germany significantly improved their competition and therefore influx of investment into their economy. However, whilst Germany has incurred significant benefits of globalisation, there has also been some negative effects. Globalisation is supposed to idolise free trade with barriers being eliminated. However, this is not necessarily this case. 161 countries have value-added taxes on imports, including Germany, which are as high as 21.6%. Additionally, increased production in Germany due to competition as a result of globalisation has led to increased use of natural resources. Further, Germany's increased exports has also led to increased transport and therefore fossil fuels. This pollution from Germany has negatively been caused by globalisation and is leading to climate change. Whilst these negative impacts of globalisation has weakened Germany, overall, globalisation has had a beneficial influence on the country. Globalisation has improved productivity and therefore competitiveness across the country's markets and has allowed for investment and in turn innovation.
I'm here with Stephanie Free, leading expert on human and economic development at Andy's Researchers. Stephanie, how do you measure development of countries such as Germany?
Domestic income per capita, or GNI, is used as a measure of economic development within countries, and while it does take into consideration the population size, it doesn't consider the differences in cost of living between countries. For example, while the GNI of Germany in 2017 was $35,266, that doesn't account for the increased value of the euro. This means when purchasing an item from Australia for $1.44 Australian, the same item will cost you 0.754 euros in Germany. When the GNI is corrected to account for this purchasing power, known as purchasing power parity, Germany's GNI PPP per capita becomes US dollars 46,136 in 2017 and has been steadily improving since 2000, whereas Australia's PPP gap has only been improving since the end of the GFC in 2010 and at a slower rate. While aiming to increase GNI PPP should be the aim of governments, improving this measure itself won't necessarily decrease the inequalities between societal levels in long and short terms.
In GNI PP is only a measure of economic progress. What is another measure that we should use?
An alternate measure of the development of a country is the Human Development Index, which is a more comprehensive measure as it includes societal aspects such as the education of residents and the length of life. On the HDI, Australia is ranked third with a score of 0.939 out of a possible 1.00, compared to Germany's rank of fifth with a score of 0.936. Breaking down these rankings, Australia ranked better based on the years of life expected at birth, which was 1.9 years greater than Germany at 83.1, and years of schooling by the age of 25 at 3.9 at 22.9 years. Germany did score better in both mean years of schooling at 14.1 compared to Australia's 12.9, and had a greater GNI PPP, as discussed earlier, at US dollars 36,136 per capita. However, the United Nations concede that the HDI is a simplified measure of human development, as it doesn't include aspects such as poverty, sustainability, human rights, and political freedom. Additionally, research into these dimensions has put into question the ability of the index to be representative reality, such as a lack of weighting of the criteria. Particularly, developing countries can be penalised through this calculation, as they may not have accurate measures available or extraneous variables may affect the country which are not included in the calculation. Overall, neither economic or human development measures are perfect or complete measures of national development and should be used in collaboration to make a measured assessment of the opportunity presented. Given the relative economic stability and strength of Germany in comparison to other parts of the globe, economic development is less significant. Additionally, given the highly educated workforce of Australia, the education and life expectancy as measured by HDI have a greater weight as factors affecting Australian companies looking to expand into Germany. Of particular note is the lower expected years of schooling by 25 and the means of schooling, which may have a greater impact on the services or goods being provided and the workforce's ability to complete the required work.
I'm now crossing over to another one of Andy's leading researchers. Eliza, can you please explain to us the cultural distance between Germany and Australia?
Overall, there are some obvious differences regarding Germany and Australia, which includes language, where Germany's main language is obviously German and they speak in the lowest context, meaning that words spoken explicitly convey the speaker's message, and Australia has a low context, but not as low as Germany, with the main language spoken in Australia is English. Some other obvious differences is the social structure, whereby Germany is structured by social levels and can be determined by intelligence, but in Australia there are no real social classes, and to be successful in Australia, all individuals should be treated as equal. However, to get into a more in-depth analysis, I'll be moving to explain Hofstede's cultural dimensions. Hofstede developed a theory for cross-cultural communication which helps to describe the different effects of a culture, values of its members, and how these values are related to behaviour within a society. This comprises of 6 dimensions, including power distance, uncertainty avoidance, individualism and collectivism, masculinity, femininity, long-term, short-term orientation, and indulgence and restraint.
Are the two cultures overall becoming more similar or different?
So the first factor that we will look at is power distance. This is the degree to which less powerful members of a society accept and expect that power is distributed unequally. Germany and Australia both scored similarly on this, with Germany getting a 35 and Australia scoring a 36. Among the lower power distant countries, meaning that people question authority and do not accept that the power is unequal and therefore try to distribute their power. The second dimension is uncertainty avoidance, which is the extent to which members of a culture feel threatened by ambiguous or unknown situations and therefore have created beliefs and institutions that try to avoid these. Again, both Germany and Australia scored relatively high on this, with Germany scoring a 65 and Australia a 51. Germany have a stronger score in this category, meaning that there is a preference for uncertainty avoidance and having a systematic overview, relying on plans and expertise. The third element is individualism and collectivism. This is the degree to which a culture emphasises individual goals over collective goals, or vice versa. Germany scored a 67 on this, and Australia scored 90. Again, these are both seen as high scores, however, Australia has obtained a much higher score than Germany. Therefore, they can be seen as more individual society. This means that communication is very direct and expects that individuals look after themselves and their families first. So the fourth factor is masculinity and femininity, a preference in society for achievement, assertiveness, and material reward for success can be described as masculine, or a preference for cooperation, modesty, caring for the weak, and quality of life is femininity. Again, they scored similarly, with Germany scoring 66 and Australia scoring 61. This means that they both considered a masculine society, where performance is highly valued and people are motivated by wanting to be the best rather than liking what they do. They are driven by competition, achievement, and success. The fifth factor is long-term and short-term orientation. Long-term orientation is the preference to maintain time-honoured traditions and norms while viewing societal change with suspicion. Short-term is a preference to take a more pragmatic approach that encourages thrift and efforts in a modern education as a way to prepare for the future. The scores are very different for this dimension, with Germany having a high score indicating that adaptation and problem-solving are a necessity. Germany shows a capability to adapt to traditions easily to changing conditions, whereas Australia's score was much different than Germany, portraying a normative culture. Unlike Germany, Australia shows much more admiration for traditions which are well kept. The last factor is indulgence and restraint. Indulgence is a relatively free gratification of basic natural human drives related to enjoying life and having fun, or restraint is the gratification of needs and regulates it by strict social norms. There is also a big difference between these scores, with Germany scoring 40 and Australia scoring 71. Germany has a low score indicating that they are a restrained culture. This means that they do not have a lot of leisure time or social time and often feel guilty for indulging themselves. Australia is very different to Germany in this regard, with a much higher score. People in Australian societies tend to realise their desires, enjoy life and have fun. They hold a more positive attitude and place a higher degree of importance on leisure time. Overall, other than the difference in basic factors such as social structures, language spoken and education, Germany and Australia can be seen as rather similar countries in most categories. The main difference seen between the two countries' cultures, which is rather different, is the way that they spend or do not spend their leisure time. Australia is a very social society, whereas Germany has feelings of guilt when time is spent not working. Australia is much more optimistic, enjoys their leisure time and is not afraid to spend money on things that will make them happy. Although very different in this sense, I think Germany will become more like Australia in terms of this dimension in years to come, putting less emphasis on work and more emphasis on free or leisure time.
Lastly, I'll have a chat with Iman. Iman's actually over in Germany. I'll be asking her, using the arguments of David Ricardo, could you please explain to us which industries Germany and Australia should specialise in when looking to trade with other countries?
So, David Ricardo was a political economist who was the first to enunciate the principal term of comparative advantage, forming a fundamental doctrine of classical trade theory that exists within the trade world today. In his published work, Principles of Political Economy, of 1817, Ricardo stipulated the countries should specialise in the production of those goods they produce most efficiently, and buy goods they produce less efficiently from other countries. His intentions behind this theory is simple. He wanted countries to choose a few areas of specialisation and trade with other countries for all other goods, even if these products could have been produced more efficiently with their own resources. Essentially, during its time, Ricardo aimed to draw attention to the macro outcome of the micro actions of self-interested agents. Ever since David Ricardo published his Principles of Political Economy, cross-country differences in technology have featured prominently in economics' explanations of the international pattern of specialisation and trade.
Now, Iman, what industries should Germany specialise in?
So, in terms of what industries Germany should specialise in, they do extremely well in vehicle parts, packed medicaments, planes, helicopters and spacecraft equipment, as well as human and animal blood. Now, in terms of explaining this further, Germany is the second largest export economy in the world. In 2017, their figures said that they exported $1.33 trillion and imported $1.8 trillion, which of course resulted in a positive trade balance of $251 billion USD. In 2017, the GDP of Germany was a staggering $3.68 trillion, and its GDP per capita was $50.6 thousand. Its car industry takes the lead with an export value of $158 billion, comprising a total of almost 12% of Germany's total exports, followed by vehicle parts, which brings in $64.1 billion and accounting for 4.8% of their export market. Additionally, Germany's packaged medicaments follow closely with a total export value of $50.6 billion in 2017. They also do well in the export of planes, helicopters and spacecrafts, like I said earlier, and that brings them $27.2 billion, as well as human and blood, which is also quite high, standing at $23.7 billion. By looking at Germany's factor density alone, it becomes evident of where a comparative advantage exists within German industries, as can be seen in the following table. When compared periodically between the years 2000 to 2008 as well as 2000 to 2016, comparative advantages in the exports of medium and high technology industries in Germany have been increasing compared with the 2000 to 2008 period. The RCA, which is the revealed comparative advantage coefficients of low technology industries, medium high technology industries, and high technology industries, increased in the period of 2000 to 2016. Germany has become more competitive in the exports of high value added products. Therefore, given that Germany has positive and high RCA values in capital intensive and hard to imitate science-based goods, they should focus on these industries when looking to trade with other countries.
What industries should Australia specialise in?
And back home in Australia does extremely well in the iron ore and coal briquettes industry, as well as gold, petroleum gas, and wheat. So, elaborating on this further, Australia is actually the 20th largest export economy in the world. The figures in 2017 exemplifies a trade surplus as its exports stood at $243 billion and imports were $199 billion. They perform exceptionally well in the iron ore and coal briquettes industry, earning $48.2 billion and $47 billion in export value, respectively.
Thanks for watching and good night.